Welcome back to GTD. The first F1 race of the season from Australia is in the books. We're going to recap that. We're going to get you set for China this weekend, as finally the F1 calendar doesn't have a 3-week break after the first race for the first time in years. Super happy for that. If you're looking for the NASCAR stuff, the Vegas recap is already out, and the Miami upcoming will be later this week. And baseball episodes will also be back this week, so be on the lookout for that as well. But let's dive right into F1, and let's start with the big news. Lando Norris wins the Australian GP despite rain, chaos, craziness, rookies in the wall, non-rookies in the wall. Lando Norris, all credit to him. I think people calling it an all-time great drive. Let's calm down a bit. He did go off the track, but still, solid, measured drive, did what he needed to do. Lando Norris brought it home in P1 and secures the first win of the season.
Yeah, McLaren has won your Constructors' Cup. I think that's obvious. McLaren looks very much ahead of everybody right now. Granted, that could change.
To be fair, we said that last year with Red Bull after Bahrain, and McLaren came and stole it.
But how much of that was Verstappen versus the McLaren or versus the actual car? Anyways, I think it'll change. You'll have teams fluctuate. But as far as right now, McLaren is definitely the dominant force to be reckoned with, and they're going to be tough to beat week in and week out. You mentioned the rain, the rookies. Before the race even started, we had our first rookie.
Poor Hadjar.
Yeah, Isaac Hadjar going around. And then you had a non-rookie, Carlos Sainz, in his first very anticipated debut with Williams, especially with how they practiced and qualified on the weekend.
And in between those, Jack Doohan.
Yeah, so you just had cargo round, and then Sainz in the wall.
Yeah, Doohan was before Sainz, because he was actually on lap 1. Hadjar was the formation lap. And while we're still on Hadjar, can we just talk about Helmut Marko for a second? Because, oh my goodness. Came out, was talking to Autosport, and said basically that Isaac Hadjar being upset and crying was unnecessary and embarrassing. And I get it if this is like the 80s or the 90s F1, but I don't see how that helps anyone, personally.
Yeah, I mean,
Hadjar, you saw he was absolutely devastated. I think we didn't need to see him on camera as long as he did, crying through the paddock. Just leave the guy alone. Obviously, Anthony Hamilton came and talked to him. That seemed to really boost him up a little bit, but this is the highest anticipated moment of this guy's racing career.
He's worked his whole life to get there. There's only 20 spots available.
Yeah, messes it up on the formation lap. And after, by the way, being the highest qualifying rookie in qualifying, comes out and does that. So completely unnecessary to pile on. You wonder why the second Red Bull driver and this Red Bull system struggles to produce these really good high talents that can go against Max Verstappen. And first off, that's a struggle for anyone. But when you constantly belittle them after any mistake, I don't see how that helps anybody.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, but back to the rookies. We mentioned
lack thereof in the finish line.
Jack Doohan had the crash on lap 1, seemingly got a torque surge in that car, same as what happened to Carlos Sainz in the last corner.
Yeah.
Kimi Antonelli did have the one spin, but we'll touch more on him later because I have a fanboy segment coming on that. Then Liam Lawson looked frankly lost all day. To be fair, first time really at this track, so kind of understand it. Gabriel Bortoleto was running fairly well, in my opinion. I'm still not sure whether it was a suspension failure or if he wrecked and then the suspension failed, because you saw it collapse as he was spinning. So I'm not sure what order that happened in, but either way, a bit of a tough break for him. And then Oliver Behrman was the other non-Kimi Antonelli rookie. Came home last of the finishers, but that's also because the Haas looks terrible right now.
Yeah.
Plus, they went for a gamble like they were going to stay out on inters, which would have worked, and then went, what if we put on dries for no reason, and sent themselves all the way to the back in what was the second dumbest strategy move of the day. And let's segue right into the first. How about Ferrari?
Yeah, if you're gonna be ballsy and make a move like that, I mean, stick to your guns. Make the move and just wait it out. There was no need to go back and switch tires when you did. You know, if you made the move, right? Mm-hmm. If Mother Nature forced you to switch tires, that's great. Do it when you know you have to. Don't do it when you think you might.
It's just fence sitting. It's classic Ferrari. We can't make a decision. We're going to wait. All of a sudden, we've absolutely been shafted because we couldn't make up our mind what I wanted to do. Then the engineer communications of Lewis Hamilton. I think if his engineer would have said K1 one more time, Lewis would have came out of the car and shot him in the face.
He would have tried the K1 button on his team.
Yeah, I have never heard anything like that before. Engineer, okay, Lewis, K1 when available. Lewis, lead me to it. Engineer, Lewis, you got K1. Lewis, lead me to it. Engineer, Lewis, we want you to try to press K1 anyway. And by this point, I don't know how Hamilton isn't losing his mind.
Yeah.
Still managed to just say calmly, I know about K1, leave me to it. Then, on the other side of the garage, Leclerc. Guys, I think the car's leaking. What's leaking?
Water.
Says the engineer. Leclerc, there's like water coming into... There's water leaking. The engineer, must be the water then.
Water.
Oh!
Yeah, granted, Leclerc, I know that's his job, be like, oh, what's leaking? But it is also raining, you have a water bottle, you're probably going to get a little bit wet. But yeah.
I'm saying though, he's trying to ask if like the drink system is leaking or
Yeah.
something's leaking in the cockpit, and Ferrari goes, well, if it's water, it must be water.
Yeah.
I don't know at this point.
As long as it no gas, we good.
Ferrari hype train is derailed. Leclerc finished 8th. Hamilton finished 10th.
The Kick Sauber Ferrari hype train is just picking up, though.
Yeah,
Nico Hülkenberg is taking off.
Nico Hülkenberg is currently the highest placed Ferrari-powered driver in the standings and has outscored the total of Ferrari by himself.
Yeah. You mentioned standings. Let's go ahead and just run through the race real quick. Obviously, you had Lando Norris, who took it home. Max Verstappen, who came in second. But probably only because Piastri and Norris both went off right when the little second batch of little rain hit.
Yeah.
Back down towards sector 3.
Yeah.
They both ran off. Norris was able to save it. Piastri was not. Got spun around, but was able to finish at least.
Yeah, I think massive credit to Piastri for not giving up in that moment, coming back and getting 2 points out of that. I was very impressed by that. I think the most underrated drive of the day is a tie between George Russell and Lance Stroll, both of which just didn't put a foot wrong all day, really. Alexander Albon, I think people have kind of hyped him up, and deservedly so, came home 5th. But wet weather Stroll is back. Took a brief hiatus in Brazil to go play in a gravel track last year, but the wet weather Stroll that we've kind of become accustomed to, great race from him. George Russell 3rd, and fanboy time for me. Kimi Antonelli comes home in 4th. I remember talking to you before our championship predictions episode, and you're like, I don't know about Antonelli, man. I'm not sure about Antonelli, man. Trust me, this dude is going to be great. He might bend it a couple times, but he's going to be a fast driver. Comes out, tricky conditions. Every other rookie either wrecked. I know Antonelli had the small spin, but every other rookie either wrecked or was dead last in this race. So for Kimi Antonelli to start 15th and come home 4th, I know helped by multiple safety cars, but still, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, incredible drive from him. I do think he's going to have the best season of all the rookies, and he should. He's in a Mercedes, but I think even if you put him in whatever car you want,
there are people who wanted Mick Schumacher in this seat instead of Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah, but another rookie who's kind of had some expectations, if not, or not a rookie, but another guy who's had expectations put on, Liam Lawson.
Yeah. Still technically a rookie, but a lot of experience for a rookie.
We've talked about, in the offseason, him or Tsunoda and why was it Lawson, why was it not Tsunoda? And then you kind of saw an angry Tsunoda this weekend who, outdrove him.
Yuki was very unlucky to not get points this weekend. He was running in second for a good period of time, was super fast, was running right around Alex Albon for most of the race, and just some pit miscue strategy at the end ends up 12th. I think if you're racing bulls after this race, between Hadjar on the formation lap and Tsunoda with what went wrong with him, you were going to be very disappointed leaving this race with no points with how fast that car was.
Yeah. But we'll have to see what unfolds with Tsunoda and Lawson as far as if Red Bull made the right move. And
I think Lawson will
stick
recover
with it.
For sure. I think asking him to come into a circuit he's never really driven in the wet, in what we pretty much know at this point is the most temperamental car on the grid in that Red Bull, Liam's going to be just fine. He's a fast driver, but that's pretty much it for Australia. We covered all the chaos, everything like that, and now time to preview China this weekend.
China.
Yeah, usually I like this track. I think this track is very underrated, delivers some bangers sometimes. If you're Sebastian Buemi, sometimes it delivers your 2 wheels leaving the front of your car in one of the all-time Formula 1 clips. The turn 1 at China is one of my favorites in F1. The giant circle back in. I think it's very cool.
Like a mini NASCAR track.
Yeah, but get right into the predictions for this week. I'm going Lando Norris to win this race. I think probably going to be dry, and this McLaren looks like a rocket right now. Yeah. Piastri I have coming home second. He was on Lando's pace, if not a little quicker, for most of this Australian GP before.
Very close.
Yeah, before the mistake. And then in third, I have Kimi Antonelli. I think the Red Bull is going to struggle in the dry. I think a lot of the reason it finished so high is just Max Verstappen's a freak and it was wet. I do not have a ton of faith in the Red Bull race pace at this point in the dry, so I'm a little bit nervous for them on that end. And quite frankly, I just want to take a flyer on Antonelli. I think he's going to be extremely fast. If he can qualify up with Russell, I think he's fast enough to get it done over the course of a race. So I'm backing the guy.
Yep, I don't hate that. I have Lando Norris winning as well for all the same reasons. McLaren, Lando Norris, this, that. I have Oscar Piastri in second. Very similar reasons. And then I also have a Mercedes in third, but it's George Russell. And here's my prediction. I think Max Verstappen will be the second fastest driver this weekend. I think he'll choose one of the McLarens and just be faster than him because he's Max Verstappen.
Are you doing a mechanical failure prediction again?
I'm doing a Max Verstappen gets angry trying to pass somebody prediction. I think that's fair. I think
Max. You have getting taken out that doesn't survive.
So that was my thought. I was like, well, I can't have Norris in first if he gets taken out.
You can't have the two McLarens if Verstappen wrecks someone.
But I'm thinking they'll get lucky. He'll just try to push something that's not there. Clip Piastri. I think Piastri will just be able to save it, and the Red Bull will not be able to save it, and that's why you don't see Verstappen in my top three, even though he'll be the second fastest car this weekend.
If that comes in, that would be an insanely specific, correct prediction. So that I kind of want that to happen now because that'd be an absolute snipe from you.
Speaking of predictions, we're doing something new this year. We're doing point system. Yes. So if you perfectly predict all three, that would be 30 points. No. Yes. 30 points total.
15 for first place. Yep. You get 10 for a correct second and 5 for a correct third. So kind of like a podium system. And after the first weekend, I'm sitting on 25 points. I got Lando correct for the win, Max correct for second. I had Leclerc in third. And I don't want to talk about it.
I'm at 0.
Keegan's sitting on 0.
I had Verstappen, Norris, Piastri. Yeah. So
yours was closer to being, weirdly, I think yours was closer to being fully correct than mine.
Yeah.
You just needed a little pass and then Piastri to not slip into the grass. But overall, that's what our points are looking like right now after 1 week. Massively ahead. I'm sure I'll blow it at some point over the European portion of the calendar because I'm never good at predicting the European portion of the calendar for some reason. But there's your China preview. There's your big F1 episode for this week. Like you mentioned, if you're looking for the NASCAR stuff, Vegas recap already out, Miami coming later this week. And then if you want to see some MLB content, love for you guys to check that out as well. That'll be out sometime this week also. But thank you for tuning in again. We'll see you with more F1 stuff next week as we recap China.